Okay, in the last session we were discussing about we were talking about alias names, and we have discussed it as an element and as well as an attribute. As an attribute, we are going to as an attribute. Um, Let me remove this one. As an attribute, what we used to do is we used to give the multiple. We used to make use of the name attribute and give multiple names like P1. We can give multiple names. Let me give P3, P4. Okay, P4. We can give multiple names. Let me save it and run it as a Java application. So you can see the output. You got some problems. Say that no bean with the name P1. Okay. If you look at dot get bean, um, let me. What's happening? Why I'm calling two beans? Is there any specific reason behind it? Okay. Okay. I'm going to remove this. Okay. So let me call with a P5. Yeah, here you can see it's working. Okay, but you want to call with a P4. So let me go to spring.xml. You can see we have different names. You can call with an ID or you can call with a name. In the name, you have multiple values. In the ID, you can give unit. You can give only one value. So in the name, you can give multiple values. These are called as an alias names. Okay, so you can call with any of these names. You can call with P1, P2, P3, or P4. Let me call with a P3. P3 and run it as a Java application. So here you can see the person. Here we got the output. We're calling the toString method present in the person bean. We're calling this method. We have the three instance variables: ID, name, and salary. So this is how it's going to work. Now, okay. So this is the state. Let me write. This is a bean for the address. So this is my address. If you go to address, you can see I have one instance variable that is the state, and I have toString method. So I will go to spring.xml and configure this thing. Here you can see I have given the name with the special characters. You can, which means that the ID attribute accepts special characters, especially backslash, which is used in the web-based applications. So even this thing is going to work, or you can also call with the /p. Even this thing is also going to work. So let's try check both the things. I'm going to go to app.java. I'm going to configure. I'm going to call the get bean method for the address. Here, let me call with the name and address. And my name of the bean is \a, and the name of the person is \p. I'm going to call with these names \a, and this should be in double quotes. Okay. Here the name of person is \p, right? So I'm going to say control 1, enter. What happened? I double quotes. That's the reason why it's not showing giving any suggestions. Control 1, say save. Control 1, no, what happened? Oh, it's saying that when you place a cursor, it's saying that invalid escape sequence valid 1 hour this thing. So at the bottom, at the end, you can see um, if you're making use of any special characters, you must and should make use of double slashes. So here, as our bean ID is uh, backward slash p, here we need to mention it as double backward slash p. Even here, double backward slash a. So this thing is going to um, remove the errors. Control 1, assign it to the address, and I'm going to call that address. I'm going to run it as a Java application. You can see, you'll see the output for both the person and the bean. This is the let me maximize it. This is the output for the, where is the output? Yeah, here is the output for the person. This is the output for the address. Okay, and we all know that the scope is singleton for the class path XML application context. For the container, it's going to create the object at the time of creating the container, where if the scope is singleton. If it is a scope is prototype, it's going to create the object at the time of get bean method execution. So when we call the get bean method, it's going to create an object for a prototype. If it is a singleton, it's going to create the object when we create container. The container is nothing but here. Okay, that's the thing. Let me save. Da, da, da. So that's the thing about making use of alias names and special characters in the bean ID. Okay. And as we have discussed, as we made use of multiple alias names here, we can also use it for the name. Okay, but instead of using the alias name in the name attribute, we also have one more tag, one more element. That is, when you just come out of the bean and say control space, here we can see alias element. You can click on it and give the name. The name should be, to connect the alias name and the bean, we should give some common name, should have some common value connecting these both alias and bean. So here what we're going to do is, here we need to give exactly the same name as ID. Okay, exact same name as alias name. Let me give it as pp1. Save it. So now you can call with the slash p. You can call with this any of these things, and you can also call with the alias names, alias name element. Okay, so let's try. I'm going to use pp1 here now. I'm going to app.java. I'm going to give my bean name as pp1. So this is my alias name. You can go to spring.xml. You can see the name of the element alias. It's pp1. And let me run it as a Java application. So now you can see it got executed, both the person and address. Okay. So this way we can make use of the alias name element, alias element. Okay. So going ahead, now we are going to talk about one more element. When you come out of it and enter control space, you can see different elements. We have alias, bean, description, import, bean, and all these things. Uh, Here you can see description. Description is an alias for the bean which can reside in a different definition. Okay, okay, we have selected the wrong one. Now I selected description. So it contains the information text describing purpose of the enclosing element used primarily for user documentation of XML Bean definition documents. Okay, so what we have been doing is for describing below section, what we have been making use of is used comment. We always used comment to comment in the XML. We have been using this thing, right? So here we have been writing our description saying that um, this bean is for the person class. In this way, we have been writing the comments, right? So instead of writing these, writing the description for the below section, we can make use of the description element instead of writing instead of making use of comments for writing some kind of information. We can also make use of the description element. Here this is the description element. Here instead of writing in the comment, you can write the information here. This way we can write the description outside. We can also write inside it. We can also make use of the description element uh, inside the bean, or we can write anywhere. So we can add the description anywhere. Okay, so that's about the description element. I'm going to remove all these things. Okay, save. I'm going to also remove the alias name. Okay, now I have the two beans. Bean is for the person, other one is for the class address. Okay, app.java. Now we are going to talk about one more thing. Uh, let's say that we have two configuration files. One is spring1.config.xml, other one is spring2.xml. Let's say that in the spring1.xml we have the person bean configuration. In the spring2 XML we have the address bean configuration. If you look at the spring, let's say that this one present in the one spring.xml, spring1.xml, and let's keep this bean in the spring2.xml. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to this our project, right? This our project, right? What I'm going to do is let me close all these things. Close this and let me go to source main spring.xml. This is spring, right? Let's close this. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste it again here. I'm going to say it as spring.xml, and this is spring.xml. In spring.xml, I'm going to place person bean. Okay, you can see I just have the person bean. In this spring.xml, I'm going to have the address bean. Okay, I'm going to configure the address bean. So this is how I'm going to make use of it. Now what I'm going to do is, so I have the two configuration files. One is spring.xml, other one is spring2.xml. One has an person configuration file, person being configured. Other one has an address being configured. Okay, so let me close both these things. I'm going to go to my uh, app.java. I'm going to save app.java here. um, Let me remove all these alias names. I'm going to make use of simple names. I'm going to call here with a A. For the person, I'm going to call with a B. I'm going to simply make use of this simple names. Even here, I'm going to make use of simple names instead of special characters. Okay. Now, if you go to app.java, you can see I'm calling bean B and bean A, bean ID A. Okay. So now we have two configuration files. When you go to app.java, you can see you have just configured only one. We have configured only one spring.xml. So how to configure other spring.xml? How to configure, or else how to configure multiple spring configuration files? So it's quite simple. We need to simply use comma and mention them. Copy the complete path, paste, and this was spring2.xml. Done. So here in the same line, you can mention any number of configuration files by using comma separator. So this is how we can configure multiple files. But again, we got two other ways. So total we have three ways, and of course maybe more. But we're going to talk about only three different ways of configuring multiple configuration files. Okay. So here, this is the one way, mentioning the multiple configuration file in the class path XML context, application context. This is the one way. So let's run as Java application, check whether it's working or not. Yeah, you can see person and address both are working, both are displaying the output. So this thing is working. So let's talk about other way of configuring multiple configuration file. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Right. Okay. So the other way of configuring is, um, let's say that we have only one present in the class application context. Let me remove the other one, the comma as well as. So I have configured only spring.xml. When we need to go to spring1.xml, okay, and when you press Control space, you can see one element import. You need to make use of it. Here you need to provide the location of the spring2 configuration file. So what is my spring2 configuration file? Spring2.xml, right? This is a file. Let me save. Here directly what we are doing is here directly importing spring2.xml. Okay, in the spring1.xml we are directly importing spring2.xml. Okay, in the app.java where we have only mentioned only spring1.xml configuration file. So let's run it and check it. We got some error. It's saying that line 17 column 1 content is not allowed in the trailing section. So that's what it said. in the line 17 of the class path resource. Okay, it's not line 17, so it's also giving us the line by line. Let me go to spring.xml. He said that we have by mistake, it's a typo, by mistake we have entered a here, so that's the reason why it's saying invalid. It's invalid nested exception, where in the spring.xml at the line 17 column 1, first column, right? So let me remove this, save it again, and go to app.java and run it as Java application. Yeah, we got the output. It has configured both the spring.1 XML and spring.2 XML, and provided the output. You can see the person and address outputs. So this way, in the spring.1 XML, we can import any number of configuration files you want. In this way, we can make use of multiple configuration files. Okay. If at all you have Spring 3.xml, you can also import it here. And if we have Spring 4, in this way, we can configure multiple configuration files. So this is a different. This is the second way of making use of multiple configuration files. The first one is we can directly mention all our multiple configuration files in the XML class path XML application context by using comma separator, or you can go to Spring Bean configuration file and use the import element and mention that particular resource here. In this way, we can make use of multiple configuration files. The third, we also have third way of making use of multiple configuration files. So what is that? And the third one by we third way of making use of multiple configuration files is by making use of parent-child relationship. So let's say that we have already configured Spring 1.xml, and let's say that this is parent. Let's say this is parent. Now I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Create a new XML. I'm going to say so. So what I'm going to get is class path of application. I'm going to mention here new of string of spring2.xml. I'm going to mention here as parent. Okay, and I'm going to assign it to child. So this is the child of the parent. Here you need to mention parent, parent, and parent. Now let's run and check it. You can see we are getting the output for both in person. We're calling with the parent, and we have also configured here we are configuring spring.xml as child. Okay, so that's about three different ways of configuring multiple bean configuration files. One is through by mentioning directly the multiple configuration files in the class path application by using comma separator. Other one is by making use of import element in the Spring configuration file, Spring Bean configuration file. Other one is by creating a parent-child relationship and calling all the beans with the parent. Okay, so these are the three different ways.